Okay, so now you're a fully licensed road racer, you're ready to go racing. You can have a little look around and see what's out there and available. Whoever you've registered with will already have sent you their dates, you'll have their entry forms, you'll have their test day forms, you'll have the whole information package. But let's just go through how simple it is and what your typical kinds of costs are to enter your first ever race. Entry form, very simple, like I said before, the same as the booking form that you do for the CTC course and basic rider assessment. It will look by now very familiar to you. You can fill it out in hard copy in the old-fashioned pen and paper way if that's what you want to do. You can also now do them online. You can do them online in such a simple fashion you can even do it on your phone. Our particular system here at ThundersportGB has got particularly high security settings on it. So if you're going to use a phone, if you've got an Android phone, you need to use your Google Chrome option on that, because otherwise it will kick you out on lack of security. So if you've got an iPhone, you can do it straight away on the iPhone system, but if you've got an Android phone, you need to use the Google Chrome option on the phone. Or of course, you can do it at home on your PC or your laptop. There's any number of ways you can do it. Once you've done your race entry on form online, you can also book the testing day, which is typically the day before. You can do it in exactly the same way, and you can do as many or as few of those events as you want. When we come to talking about cost, it's not just cost, it's the point at which your money is taken. Now, everybody's system is slightly different. You need to speak to the race organiser that you're actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Some of the online systems take payment immediately, some of them do a deferred payment. Some people, when you send your race entry form into the race secretary, the cheque gets banked or the card gets debited. Others have a different system. Our system here, I can only speak for ThundersportGB, is that we generally debit the card about 8 days before the event, and we never debit the card until after you've successfully completed the meeting beforehand, so that you're never going to be sitting with a big hole in your bank account and a bike that you can't ride. It's very, very simple and it's very secure. Your typical cost of going racing for a weekend's race meeting is £245. That hasn't changed with ThundersportGB since 2008. There have been no price increases. The more expensive circuits are £250, £265. The cheaper ones are about £235. If you budget for the season, that each race meeting is going to cost you on average £245, you'll be within pence at the end of the year. What do you get for your £245? What you get is you get a 2-day event for one class. Say you're on a 600 and you're going to do the pre-national 600 sport class. You get a 15-minute qualifying session, which is a genuine 15 minutes from the moment that you take to the track until the checkered flag goes out. So you've got a 15-minute sector where you will be able to set a qualifying time. Laid down in the ACU rules, you must have a minimum of 10 minutes practice. We just extend that by an extra 5 minutes in our qualifying sessions, just to make sure that you haven't got to come out of the gate like a rat up a drain pipe. What we don't want is we don't want you being pressured into having to make any mistakes. So you get your 15 minutes qualifying session. At the end of your 15 minutes qualifying session, by the time you've got the bike back in the paddock, on your paddock stand, tyre warmers back on, by the time you've done all of that, you go down to the race administration and the timesheets will already be there waiting for you with your grid positions for day one of the 2-day meeting. On day one, you'll get 2 races, and those races are generally speaking about 20 miles. A perfect race distance, a perfect race length in terms of what we do is about 13 or 14 minutes. That gives you plenty of time to have enough opportunities to overtake, it gives you enough laps, and it also means that you're not going to be going through tyres at a rate that you can't afford. So when you've done each track session, make sure that when you come back in, rather than rushing off and getting your timesheets, make sure you look after your bike first. Put the tyre warmers back on. What you don't want is you don't want deep heat cycles on them. So you're going to get your 2 races. Your second race of the day is also set from your qualifying time. On the Sunday of a 2-day race meeting, You get a 10-minute warm-up session in the morning, and then you get 2 further races. The 2 further races that you get on day 2 of the race meeting, we do the grids on those through a system called Megalaps. Now Megalaps takes into account your qualifying time, your best lap in qualifying, your best lap in race 1, your best lap in race 2. Whichever one of those fastest laps is your personal fastest lap of the day, that goes onto a new qualifying sheet on Saturday evening, and that's called Megalaps. So it means that if you had a disaster in qualifying, say you went out in qualifying and somebody had forgotten to pump up the back tyre to the correct pressure, you couldn't get anywhere near the times that you're capable of, you're condemned to being somewhere down the grid. That's okay. All you've got to do is make sure that you get 2 good, safe race finishes in, and make sure that in one of those 2 race finishes you get a nice lap time. That will put you on day 2 of the race meeting exactly where you should be in the grid. I've been running race meetings now for about 20 years. I've used all sorts of different systems, from qualifying puts you where you're supposed to be for the whole of the weekend, to where you start is where you finished the previous race, and the system that we currently run statistically is the safest and the fairest way of doing grid positions over a weekend. It encourages people to ride safely and within their limits on the first day of the meeting if they've had a bad qualifying session, because they get the reward on Sunday. On the Sunday, as I say, you get your further 2 races. They're a similar sort of distance. Every now and again you'll find that the races on Sunday are slightly longer. That's because that has to fit into our television schedule. 3 90-minute programs split amongst the classes, so you actually got something that you can show your sponsors. You can actually take down to your local bike shop, and a picture paints 1,000 words. Back when I was racing, I had to wait until I got to full national standard racing before I got the first 2-minute clip of me on a bike. Nowadays we've got a full professional system whereby you get very good coverage. It goes on Motors TV and it also goes on the iPlayer. If you're serious about getting sponsorship for yourself, there is no better way than taking video evidence down to the people that are interested in you racing and showing them. It actually conveys what you're doing. It's not scrambling around a muddy field, which is most sponsors' idea of what you're talking about in the first instance. It's actually professional road racing. And that is what you get for your first race meeting. At the end of the meeting, you need to make sure that you go to see the race secretary and obtain your 2 signatures. If you've got a satisfactory race finish on day 1, you get 1 signature for that. If you've got a satisfactory finish on day 2, you get another signature for that. You need to collect 10 of those signatures from 3 different race circuits in order to upgrade your licence to a clubman grade, and then you can lose the orange jacket that you've had to wear for your first 10 days. And that is a seminal moment in any road racer's career. Okay, so now you've upgraded your licence to a clubman licence, the next thing you want to do is upgrade to national status. It gets slightly tougher now. You haven't just got to have a satisfactory finish, you need to have 10 finishes within 110% of the race winner's time. Okay, so race winner's speed, that is. So you need to have a further circuit. So if you had Brands Hatch, Silverstone and Donington Park as your novice circuits, that's fine. You need 1 extra circuit to upgrade from clubman to national, and you need a further 10 signatures. 1 signature per day, remember. You need to then finish within 110% of the race winner of your class's speed time. On the bottom of each result, you'll see that qualifying time actually listed. When you look on the result, if your speed is faster than the speed required at the bottom, then you're entitled to an upgrade signature. If you're not faster than that time, then you're not entitled to a signature on that one. It's very, very simple. So what you need to do is make sure that you've got 10 more good, safe race finishes above the line, as we call it, which is faster than 110% of the race winner's time. When you've done that, as your novice licence, you've got the record card with your 10 finishes on it, you put the results with it, you send that card, not your licence, off to the ACU and they then upgrade it. So you do that for your novice licence to get your clubman licence, and then you do it again from the clubman licence to get your national licence. And once you've got your national licence, you're then eligible to take part in public roads races. As we mentioned at the start of it, the public roads races all come later. So public roads races in this country are the Isle of Man TT, the Manx Grand Prix, the Southern 100, Aberdare Park road races and Oliver's Mount at Scarborough. You must have a national licence in order to be able to take part in those races. Once you've got a national licence as well, you're free to compete anywhere in Europe. But before you enter races in Europe, you must remember to contact the ACU and let them know the permit number of the meeting that you're taking part in, and you must buy additional insurance from the ACU. It's typically about £65–70, and that covers any repatriation costs should you be unfortunate enough to suffer an injury in any of those competitions. The added benefit of getting that insurance as well is that the ACU then check that the competition that you're entering in Europe is run to the same standards that you're used to here. There are many different federations across Europe that run race meetings to those standards. It is the norm, but there are also a few pirate ones, and I'm sure that you'd like to know that the ones that you're entering are the proper standard race events.